Hey everyone, my name is Aaron James, and this is a review of the film Titanic 2. I mean Avatar, The Way of Water. The film is directed and written by James Cameron, whom you may know from the previous Avatar, Titanic, Terminator, and Terminator 2 Judgment Day, amongst a few other films. The film stars Zoe Saldana, Sigourney Weaver, Kate Winslet, Stephen Lang, Cliff Curtis, and Sam Worthington. Now, this is a good film for Sam Worthington, considering his range is not the best. Everyone else, they did good when they stood out. I mean, even Zoe Saldana, I loved her in the little time that she had in the movie. This movie is a sequel to the first one, so if you had not seen this first one, it would definitely benefit you to, because you may end up having quite a few questions for this movie. And I mean, it is a sequel, so that's what it's for. They want you to watch the first one. I will say this movie has some of the best special effects I have seen. James Cameron going into the depths of the ocean may have very much been worth it, considering that it definitely probably or very likely influenced and inspired a lot of the designs for the creatures and the seawater animals that were in this movie, and a lot of the visuals. It has a lot of scenes that are definitely screensaver worthy. When the first Avatar came out in '09, I was not a huge fan of it, and the story felt very derivative of a bunch of other things, reminded me of so much other stories itself, and the special effects weren't grand enough for me to really feel that it was worth the appraisal that it got. But it did. Not a horrible movie, I don't want to say that. I just did not like it. This movie is a lot better. The story is better, it's more entertaining, and I enjoyed the watch a few more times. I enjoyed the watch a bit more, quite a bit more than the first one. First time I watched it, I enjoyed it, and I said, okay, this is a lot better. A bit long, but I'm gonna come back and watch it again. During this premiere weekend, I went with someone, and watching it again, I was reminded of how long it is, and it did not. I started spotting a lot of scenes that could have been cut. From James Cameron's view or opinion, his perspective, he probably wanted to keep a lot of scenes, because a lot of the scenes were mostly just because they looked beautiful, and they did look amazing. But that added to a bit of screen time, and then there were other scenes that weren't necessary, and some dialogue could have been changed to shorten the movie a bit. The movie in total is 3 hours and 12 minutes. This does include the credits. Now, let's say we move away the special effects, the CGI. The story, and there are a lot of other blockbusters and films that are mostly just very entertaining to watch, and that's why we go to the movies to watch them. That's why we pay to see it in IMAX or Dolby, because that is how it's meant to be seen, and it looks amazing. And that's why this movie is probably as long as it is and looks the way it does. From a business perspective, that's really smart. Even from an audience perspective, because this is a movie I want to see in IMAX. However, those are the movies that, when leaving, the story doesn't really sit the same way, or doesn't settle as well as other movies that I really enjoyed and that I become attached to, or with characters that I become attached to. And that is why I do not understand the hype behind Avatar. Actually, I'll take that back. I understand the hype in terms of it looks amazing, right? Again, these are some of the best special effects. My thing is that the story is something that has been told over and over again, and it sells. That's why it gets retold, but some people are much better at telling it than others, and this one was at the bottom for me. It's about family, fatherhood, particularly about colonization, about protecting your people, and it's a collection of that. And I kind of saw some of it maybe being about protecting animals, sea life particularly, because of the hunting and all of that, but I can save that for spoilers. Again, Zoe Saldana, her scenes, I don't know if I'm really pronouncing her last name right. I understand, based on the story, that she did not need so much screen time, but her character, and how, at least how she acted, and the facial expressions for her character were really good, and her action scenes were great. She stood out. I think she had some of the best, if not the best, action scenes. I'm pretty sure I liked her action scenes the most out of anyone. When she was doing what she was doing, it was great. Stephen Lang's character, I really like that story and that viewpoint, and seeing the evolution of the personality and of that character. And I would be more interested in that character and Stephen Lang's character, and how what his journey into what he may end up becoming by the third one, or at the end of the third one, more so than Sam Worthington. It feels like his story, in a way, ended in the beginning of this sequel. I felt that we learned enough and he evolved enough in the first one, and then going into this one, it felt like there was not much more left to explore in regards to him. And then I think that was solidified in the end of this one. And so I feel that there's more from the other characters' perspectives that we should explore and we should allow ourselves to explore. I mean, it's not named after Sam Worthington's character. It's called Avatar, so I think there's a lot that we can explore. Now you have new characters played by Kate Winslet, Cliff Curtis, and the actors playing the children. They were interesting. I was into them, and it was definitely added to the world building that I really enjoyed. But again, this movie's so long. It felt like this movie could have been split into 3 parts. There was the Pandora or the jungle beginning. Then there's the middle, which I would call that The Way of Water. Then there is the end, which I would call Titanic 2. The movie's fun. Again, I think it might be worth watching if you're fine with 3 hours. Again, there are scenes that do drag a bit, and I feel that were not necessary. The movie could have been shortened. I think it was to add to this experience of a theatrical release into your 3 hours of watching this visual piece. And again, it looks great, but I am not going to the movie theaters to watch the third one if it is over 2.5 hours. Now we're going to get into spoiler territory. So this is your spoiler warning. So the movie starts off with a narrating from Sam Worthington's character. I don't really know the names of these characters, so that's what I'll say. And years past, Zoe and Sam have had 3 children, and they adopted a 4th, which is the daughter of Sigourney Weaver's character. This character is also played by Sigourney Weaver, I believe, and you start noticing it. You can start seeing it a bit, and it seems that she doesn't really know how to act like a teenager. There's kind of some stereotypes that you see in her facial expressions of what a teenager may act or may behave as. And maybe this is James Cameron because he might, he's been older for so long. He hasn't been a teenager in a while, that maybe that's how he sees it as well. Anyway, I like that character. Cool. I like the 2 sons. I like their dynamic as far as being brothers. And I wanted there to be more an exploration on the brotherhood more than the parenthood, or more so the fatherhood, right? It was kind of, those stories were in a way intertwined, but I think the brotherhood aspect might have been a bit more interesting, and because especially with their dynamic, they're closer in age, they're interacting with these other characters that are also their age, and also they have siblings. They have 2 sisters, and that seemed like a better exploration, and something I was more interested in when these children were in the screen more than when the parents were. Stephen Lang's character is apparently still alive. Well, his consciousness was pulled out of his body and put into an avatar. So now he is his enemy. And he says something along those lines of being reborn as your enemy. And now he is permanently an avatar. Or, what's the name of the people? The Na'vi, I believe. They're called Na'vi. So he is permanently a Na'vi. And now he's seeking revenge for what was done to him, for his previous body's death, his previous life death, right? Done by this person, by Sam Worthington's character. So Stephen Lang and a lot of the people that were also serving with him as humans are now also Na'vi. They're going on the search. Also, Stephen Lang has a son. The son was too young to be sent back to Earth, so he ended up growing amongst the Na'vi and the remaining scientists, humans that stayed behind. And so he, in a way, Spider, the name of the human that I'm talking about, thinks he's Avatar in a way, or Na'vi in a way. I think he's aware that he's not, but he grew up around them, so he's adapted and develop behaviors that Na'vi typically have. Spider is very much welcomed into the Na'vi, and because of his upbringing and being peaceful and not being a threat to the culture, their environment, their land, their people, their beliefs, their way of life, and Spider is cool. And I was also more interested in Spider's relationship with Stephen Lang's character, his Na'vi, and since they're father and son. I was more interested in that than, again, Sam's character and his children. It felt very just whatever. Maybe the relationship felt like whatever because James Cameron had to actually try and tell a story with them, where the other kind of stories or plots didn't need to be explored as much, so he could do just the important parts, and that's where you were able to connect. I don't know. I'm being very critical of this movie, huh? So the Sam's family, they have to escape, or they don't escape, but they have to leave their people, their village, to protect the village, because Stephen Lang, he's coming for them. He wants revenge, and he will kill everyone in his path. So they leave believing that will be best for them. And they end up going into the ocean and interacting with villagers that live on the islands. That's where the way of water comes in. They're introduced to this world of water. This is where we get into the second part of the movie, and that's where I would call it the way of water. They're learning how to live amongst the islanders, how to hunt in the water, swim efficiently in the water, interact with the sea creatures in the water, and understand the way of life and how they live near water. They are no longer jungle Na'vi. So they're doing this, right? And during this time, Stephen Lang is on the hunt. He's hunting for them. He's searching for them. He's out. He's adjusting as who he is. He's also training himself how to capture those giant flying monsters that you saw a lot in the first movie, and how to be a Na'vi, speak Na'vi, hunt like them, eat like them, and just search through the jungle like them. During this time, that's when he gets like a hint that they are out in the islands. They're no longer in the jungle. Not much there. One of the sons connects with a giant whale thing. What's it called? A tuluk or tukul, something like that. And yeah, this was the part that kind of dragged a bit. This was where the beautiful visuals come in and you enjoy watching it. Let's just jump to the third part. This is where I call it Titanic, because about 30 some minutes are spent with this ship sinking, and people are fighting during this whole time. This ship is sinking, flipping over, all of that. A few of the children get kidnapped by Stephen Lang's character, including the daughter of the lead villager, the king of or ruler, the guy that's leading the villagers on the islanders. So Sam Worthington and Cliff Curtis, who plays the guy that's leading the islanders, they assemble their people and they go out to rescue them. It was fun. Watching this was very fun. Again, special effects, cool, all of that. I enjoyed the action scene. I enjoyed the fight scenes, especially between Sam and Steven's character while the ship was flipping. It looked really cool. Zoe Saldana, her action scene, especially after losing a son, she goes in, messes him up. I felt that. When the son died, I know I just jumped out of nowhere, the son died. The son dying, I didn't care for it. I was like, cool. I didn't think it was cool. But I was like, all right, son's dying. You could tell they were trying to pull some emotion. I didn't feel emotion until Zoe Saldana's character showed up. The way she was screaming and the facial expressions, I felt that. That's when I started like, damn. And my eyes might have watered up a little bit the first time. Second time I kind of just, tried to zone out so it wouldn't happen again. And then when Zoe's character starts going on a rampage, taking out almost every human she sees and any Na'vi that she knows is an enemy, she was not playing. That's the type of stuff I want to see more of, and I wish they gave me more. Maybe they will in the third one. Who knows? So my issue with this movie, well, one of them, is as good as the effects are in most of the movie, there are scenes that felt very video gamey, very video game cutscene. And that took me out. Whenever I saw those scenes, it took me out. It felt like I was watching a cutscene from a video game, even though it looks good, right? We see video games that look good, but you know it's a video game. I was pretty disappointed in the score. You could tell the sound is there. The music, they're trying to have this signature music, but it doesn't hit the same as other movies, other franchises, and their score. Maybe it will by the third one. Having Kate Winslet, I thought was kind of funny in this movie, considering it's water and other stuff happening that I mentioned during the spoiler section. I don't know if you need to go to the movies to watch this, especially if you don't want to sit for 3 hours. I know I probably very likely will not watch this movie again. Unless someone I know wants to watch it very bad. Movies is very long and the story is not that great. This is one of those movies that it is the awe of the spectacle, and once you watch it, or once I watched it, I was like, okay, what's next? Let me move on. Not what's next in Avatar even. Just I'm good. Let me go on with my life. It looked good. I'll compliment that. It looked great. But that's it. That's all I have to say about this movie. That's the top thing about this movie. Again, I'm not sitting in theaters to watch the third one. Or if they make a fourth and fifth one, I'm not sitting in theaters to watch these if they're over 2.5 hours long. It's not that compelling to me. If you want to see amazing visuals, yeah, go watch it in Dolby, IMAX, or 4XD, whatever your premiere theater screen is showing. Anyway, that's my review. I know it sounds like I'm very disappointed in this movie, but it is what it is. Oh, I will say the 3 hour thing, as much as I didn't like how long this movie was, I'm not against 3 hour movies. I think sometimes the story you have to tell requires a certain amount of time. I did not have an issue with King Kong being that long. I think Titanic is that long. You have Avengers Endgame, and you have Babylon, which came out actually Babylon's coming out a week after Avatar. I forgot. I saw it last month, so I forget when it comes out. Babylon and Avatar, The Way of Water, are both around the same time. There's only like a 3-minute difference between the two. Babylon did not feel as long as Avatar The Way of Water did. It felt more, I guess you could believe it's around the 3 hour mark, but Avatar The Way of Water felt like 4 hours. I am going to watch Babylon in theaters again, and I think I would enjoy that. I enjoyed it a lot more than I did The Way of Water, and I think this second watch I'm going to enjoy more than the second watch of The Way of Water. Anyway, if y'all seen it, what did you think about it? Until next time, y'all check up on one another, check up on yourself, and remember, potential has no limit.